What makes a building truly great? Is its success simply measured by, meeting specifications, adhering to a budget, and sticking to a rigid schedule? Or is there something more profound at play, like a soul, maybe? A discernible character, an inherent integrity that resonates beyond its mere functional purpose?
Yeah.
The kind of quality that makes you pause, look up, and just feel a structure in your bones.
It's a question that echoes through centuries, isn't it? From the most intricate, almost invisible details of, say, a printed page,
Correct.
to the sweeping majesty of a cathedral that has stood for 1,000 years, this fundamental tension, it has always been central to human creation.
The tension between, craftsmanship and something else.
Exactly. It's the tension between the meticulous pursuit of perfection in the act of making and a deeper, often unquantifiable moral responsibility that shapes the outcome.
Absolutely. And that's precisely what we're embarking on today here on The Deep Dive. We're going to explore this fascinating relationship between meticulous craftsmanship and profound moral responsibility in building.
And we've got some fantastic guides for this.
We do. Our journey will be guided by two foundational texts. Joseph Moxon's Mechanic Exercises from the 17th century, which offers this incredibly granular look into the world of master printers.
Which seems like an odd place to start for architecture, maybe, but it's key.
It really is. And then John Ruskin's 7 Lamps of Architecture from the Victorian era, a work that really elevates architectural critique to a moral philosophy.
So, our deep dive today will take you on a journey through time and philosophy. We'll begin with the granular precision demanded of a master craftsman, seeing how integrity was literally etched into every component.
Tiny details.
Tiny, tiny details. Then we'll pivot to Ruskin's sweeping moral argument for architecture, where buildings become, for him, living embodiments of truth, sacrifice, and beauty.
And then bring it to today.
And finally, yes, we'll contrast these historical ideals with the realities of modern, often profit-driven projects, asking what becomes of character when systems and metrics seem to dominate.
Our mission today is to uncover surprising insights, maybe provoke some new questions for you, our listener, and ultimately to reflect on what integrity, craft, and character truly mean in building today.
Yeah. Hopefully offer a fresh perspective on the structures that shape our lives, from, the smallest home to the tallest skyscraper.
So prepare to look at the world around you in a whole new, perhaps more discerning way.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we talk about grand buildings and sweeping architectural philosophies, let's go all the way back to the 17th century.
Way back.
We're stepping into the workshop of a master printer, guided by Joseph Moxon's Mechanic Exercises. Now, this book isn't just a manual. It's like a window into an era where craft was everything. It's maybe a surprising starting point for a discussion on architecture, but what truly stands out to you in his descriptions of this intricate work?
Well, what's truly fascinating here, and what gives us such a strong foundational understanding of what craftsmanship historically meant, is the sheer depth of knowledge.
Right.
The manual skill and the relentless iterative pursuit of perfection required for what might seem like a simple mechanical process like printing.
It's not simple at all when you read Moxon.
No. Moxon isn't merely documenting a series of steps. He's meticulously dissecting every minute movement, every specialized tool, every tiny component with an almost reverent precision.
Reverent, that's a good word for it.
He's showing us that the character of the final printed page, its legibility, its beauty, its very integrity, begins with the absolute mastery of its smallest elements.
You can almost feel the weight of the tools in your hand as you read it, can't you? The focused silence of a workshop. It's not just about getting the job done efficiently.
No.
It's about an almost artistic devotion to the smallest, often unseen details.
Exactly. Take, for instance, what he reveals about the microaesthetics of type design. Moxon dedicates significant attention to the aesthetic quality of typefaces themselves, not just their functionality.
So how they looked, not just if they worked.
Precisely. He describes how master printers judge the exact symmetry of letters, from large-bodied letter as English Great Primer down to tiny small as Pearl Non-Peril, little tiny things.
Pearl Non-Peril.
Tiny indeed. And he even suggests using a magnifying glass or two to discern the true proportion and true breadth of every fat and lean stroke in each letter.
Wow, with magnifying glasses.
Yeah. This highlights an appreciation for aesthetic perfection at a level far beyond casual observation. It suggests an intrinsic beauty that's present even in the smallest, almost invisible elements of a printed page.
Like a hidden character.
Exactly, a hidden character that underpins the whole. It's a testament to the belief that true quality exists even where the eye might not immediately perceive it.
So it's not enough for the letters to just be legible on the page. They have to be beautiful, perfectly formed, even under magnification. That's a remarkably high standard, almost obsessive maybe.
It really is, especially for something many would consider primarily utilitarian today.
Yeah, it suggests a certain pride, a deep personal investment from the craftsman.
It truly is. And this pursuit of excellence wasn't just theoretical, it was a recognized benchmark. The text praises Dutch letters as of late cut, which were reduced unto a rule.
Reduced unto a rule. What does that mean exactly?
It means they had achieved a kind of standardized level of superior design, a recognized perfection. This implies a widely recognized standard of excellence and an appreciation for superior design that became an objective measure of quality
Ah, okay.
in what was a highly skilled, yet in many ways still a subjective craft. Craftsmen were literally competing to produce the most perfect character, letter by letter.
So even then, there was an accepted best practice, a standard that others aspired to. What about the actual making of these intricate pieces, the physical production? You mentioned the graving of a letter. Seems incredibly delicate.
Oh, the demands of graving and refinement were indeed intense, required almost surgical precision. The process of graving on the inside of the stroke demands extreme care. The graver, that's the cutting tool, it must be placed so neither of its edges may wrong another stroke of the letter if they chance to slip over.
So one tiny slip.
Exactly. A single tiny slip could potentially spoil the whole letter, rendering it useless.
Wow.
This level of vigilance, it just underscores the direct personal responsibility of the craftsman for the quality of their work. There's no room for error and no easy way to hide it.
Each letter's character was directly tied to the steady hand of its maker.
You could say that, the unblemished character of its maker's hand.
It's like a surgeon's precision, where every single move matters and any slight deviation has immediate, visible consequences.
Precisely. And this pursuit extends to achieving a flawless finish, too. Moxon emphasizes that neither any dock or the least exuberant bunching out be upon the inside of the face of the stroke.
No docks or exuberant bunchings. Love the language.
It's great, isn't it? But that the inside of the stroke, whether it be fat or lean, have its proper shape and proportion, and be purely smooth and clean all the way.
Purely smooth and clean all the way.
This pursuit of a flawless surface, eradicating even the slightest imperfection, it's a hallmark of dedicated craftsmanship, a testament to the artisan's personal commitment to quality. The character of the typeface was literally defined by this immaculate smoothness.
Eliminating even the slightest imperfection, that sounds like a long and arduous process. Especially when you consider they were often making the tools to make the tools right.
That's where the iterative process of mold making and adjustment truly shines. It wasn't just making the letter, it was making the mold to cast the letter.
Right.
Moxon's detailed descriptions of constructing the mold, that's the device used to cast the actual metal type, involve fitting parts like the bottom plate, the throat and jaw, and the palate.
Very specific parts.
Very specific. He highlights the critical design of the break at the end of the shank of the letter, which ensures, and this is ingenious, metal enough will not pass through the throat to fill both the face and shank of the letter.
So they needed to understand the physics of it, how the metal flowed.
Exactly. It reveals an intimate, practical understanding of materials science and mechanical engineering, even in this seemingly simple context. All learned through practice, observation, trial, and error. It's an intuitive mastery of physics.
So they understood the flow of molten metal, the pressure, the cooling dynamics, essentially all through hands-on experience and observation. That's an incredible depth of empirical knowledge.
Exactly. And this refinement was relentless, a true testament to patience. The process of casting new proofs, new samples of type, and examining them is described as highly iterative.
Not getting it right the first time?
Oh, definitely not. Moxon writes, he does not expect to do it the first, second, or seventh time, but mends on by a little at a time till at last it is so finished.
Mends on. I love that.
It speaks volumes about the dedication, the patience, and the long-term commitment to quality that defines true craftsmanship. It's not about instant gratification or, just hitting a deadline.
Right.
It's about a continuous incremental pursuit of an ideal perfection, building character into the very means of production.
It sounds less like a job and more like a calling, doesn't it? A deep, almost spiritual engagement with the work itself, where the craftsman pours their very essence into the object.
Indeed. This embodies the true spirit of the craftsman. This isn't just about following a recipe or a set of instructions.
No.
It's about an artisan's depth engagement with the materials, the tools, and the continuous striving for an idealized outcome. It reflects a personal connection to the integrity and aesthetic value of the final product,
Yeah.
where the character of the maker is quite literally infused into the character of the object. This is a foundational insight into what craft really means. A profound personal responsibility for the quality and thus the character of what is made.
That glimpse into Moxon's world, the printing presses, it gives us a real visceral sense of dedicated craft. This hands-on pursuit of perfection in the smallest details, where personal integrity and quality were inseparable. Now, let's pivot from these intricate mechanical details to something much grander. Architecture.
Okay.
We're moving to the Victorian era through the eyes of John Ruskin, a towering figure who passionately linked building to morality. He wasn't just interested in how beautiful a building looked or how structurally sound it was.
No, not just that.
He was deeply concerned with its soul, its ethical foundations.
Mm-hmm.
What was he trying to tell us about buildings and their deeper meaning?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Ruskin's work, The Seven Lamps of Architecture, it's really a profound philosophical argument, almost a moral manifesto for building.
A manifesto.
He posits that architecture isn't merely about structural integrity or functional purpose or even visual appeal, but about embodying moral virtues.
Moral virtues in stone and glass.
Absolutely. He's deeply concerned not just with how things are built, but why. With what integrity and what message they convey, both to those who build them and to those who live and behold them. For Ruskin, a building's character was a direct reflection of the moral character of its creation.
So for Ruskin, a building isn't just a collection of materials. It's a moral statement carved in stone, a kind of silent sermon. That's a radical idea for many, I imagine, especially today.
It really is.
What was his primary moral stance, his foundational lamp, if you will?
His most direct and fervent moral stance is articulated in the Lamp of Truth. This insists on absolute honesty in materials and representation.
Honesty. Okay.
Ruskin issues a strong condemnation of deception, stating unequivocally that no form nor material is to be deceptively represented. He strongly criticizes falsity in architectural details.
Like what specifically?
Well, he specifically mentions penetrated traceries, that ornamental stonework in Gothic windows, that become merely the means of exhibiting the dexterity of the stonecutter, showing off, essentially.
Ah, okay. So if a design element is made in a way that looks structural but isn't, or maybe it appears to be one material but is actually another, perhaps a cheaper one plastered over.
Exactly.
That's a moral failing for Ruskin. He sounds like he's almost against ornament just for ornament's sake, if it's dishonest.
You've hit on a crucial point. He argues that such displays of skill, when they prioritize showmanship over the honest expression of structure, actually annihilated both the beauty and dignity of the Gothic types.
Annihilated. Strong word.
Very. This isn't merely an aesthetic criticism, it's a moral condemnation of pretense over truth, where the craftsman's ego or a desire for superficial effect overrides the inherent integrity of the building's purpose and materials. He believed that such dishonesty corrupted the very character of the architecture. The building should, in a sense, be honest about itself.
That's a powerful stance. But he's not saying art has no place.
Yeah.
Right. I think you mentioned painting as an exception. Where does he draw the line between art and deception?
He draws that line quite clearly. He differentiates this kind of structural or material deceit from honest artistic embellishment. He notes that painting, confessably such, is no deception. It does not assert any material whatever. It's clearly paint.
Right, it's not pretending to be stone.
Exactly. In fact, he argues that good painting makes it more precious, suggesting that art, when it doesn't masquerade as something it's not, adds genuine value and, in fact, enhances the intrinsic character of the building without compromising its fundamental truth. It's about clear intention and open declaration.
That makes sense. It's about being upfront about what things are. So if truth is one lamp, what other virtues did he associate with great architecture? The idea of sacrifice sounds intriguing, especially in the context of building. How does that work?
Indeed. The lamp of sacrifice speaks to dedication and effort going far beyond just superficial splendor. Ruskin argues for a nobleness in the work that comes from genuine dedication, not importunate, self-proclaiming splendor.
Not just showing off how much money was spent.
Precisely. He believes true majesty in churches, for example, comes from not the gift, but the giving, the spirit of sacrifice in the act of building. This means the effort expended, the time, the quality of materials used, not for the glory of the builder or the owner, but for the glory of the purpose itself. It implies a moral obligation to give one's best.
So it's about the intention and the quality of the effort, even if that exquisite detail isn't immediately visible to every casual observer.
Yeah.
That sounds a bit like Moxon's invisible perfection, but on a grander scale.
Exactly. It's a similar spirit. He points to examples like the transept gates of Rouen with their delicate bas reliefs placed where they would be seen closely, maybe by worshippers entering, but perhaps not appreciated by the masses from afar. This suggests that quality, even in small, less visible areas, reflects a higher ideal, a commitment to excellence for its own sake. It means choosing to do little where we cannot afford much, but doing that little extremely well. Embedding a deeper character born of sacrifice into the work itself. This quality, whether seen or unseen, contributes to the building's inherent character.
I can imagine how that contrasts with some of the more elaborate, but perhaps less sincere building he might have seen in his own Victorian-era buildings that were all about superficial show.
Oh, absolutely.
What about beauty itself? Where did Ruskin think architectural beauty came from? What was its essence for him?
For Ruskin, the essence of beauty was deeply, deeply rooted in nature, form, and abstraction. He highlights a sympathy in the forms of noble building, with what is most sublime in natural things.
His defeat with nature.
Yes. He notes that man is inherently unable to conceive beauty without her aid, meaning nature is our ultimate teacher, our ultimate source book.
Okay.
He points to the resemblance in its shafts and ribs to the external relations of stems and branches in Gothic architecture, which gives a sense or belief of a correspondent internal structure, a natural organic integrity. For Ruskin, the best buildings felt alive, like a natural entity.
So the natural world wasn't just an inspiration for decoration, like carving leaves on a capitol, but for the very structure and feeling of the building, making it feel more authentic, more alive.
Precisely. This leads him to advocate for organic form dominant, true independent sculpture and alto relievo, rich capitals and moldings, to be elaborate in completion of form, not abstract.
So less purely geometric, more flowing organic shapes.
Generally, yes. While he expresses his opinion most diffidently, very cautiously, he finds a purely abstract manner to be wearisome. He felt it lacked the richness and depth derived from natural inspiration.
Interesting.
He praises the playful lightness and flow of the curved outlines of the Salisbury dogtooth molding, for example, as a nobler instance of decoration adapted to the severest moldings, showing how natural, organic forms could elevate even seemingly abstract elements, imbuing them with character.
It seems like he also had a real affection for the human touch in building, not just the idealized forms. The idea of imperfection as a good thing almost seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Especially after hearing about Moxon's absolute precision. How do we reconcile that?
That's a crucial and really fascinating point. The human touch, imperfection, and eagerness. Ruskin observes how much of imperfection and variety in things professing to be symmetrical the eyes of those eager builders could equal.
The eager builders. Love that phrase.
It's wonderful. And for him, this wasn't a flaw, but an intrinsic part of handcraft, where the human touch and the natural variations in materials and execution actually contribute to character.
So slight differences aren't mistakes, they're personality.
Kind of, yes. He cites the subtly proportioned Pisan front, the facade in Pisa, where not one of his four arcades is of, height with another.
Really, they're all different heights.
Subtly different, yes. Implying a conscious departure from rigid, machine-like uniformity in favor of nuanced, human-scale beauty. These eager builders weren't striving for sterile perfection, but for a vibrant, almost breathing quality in their work, a unique fingerprint that lent the building its soul.
That's a powerful idea, that the very human element, with its slight variations and inconsistencies, is what gives a building its unique character, its soul. It's not about sterile exactness, but about the story of its making.
It connects directly to his ultimate choice, his most profound, maybe even most challenging statement. Ruskin ends with this powerful declaration saying that if a building cannot embody these moral and aesthetic truths, truth, sacrifice, beauty, and the authentic human touch, we must primarily endeavor to feel and do, but then it may not be desirable for us to have architecture at all.
Wow. So if it doesn't have these qualities, maybe we shouldn't even build it.
That's the implication. It suggests that if a building cannot embody these moral and aesthetic truths, its very existence might be questionable. It underscores the gravity of his philosophy. It's an incredibly high bar for what constitutes meaningful architecture, implying that architecture without character, without soul, isn't truly architecture.
So we've heard Moxon's deep dive into precise, hands-on craft, where every stroke of a graver mattered for the integrity of a typeface, and where the object's character was forged in meticulous, iterative perfection. Then we explored Ruskin's moral imperative for truth, sacrifice, and beauty in architecture, drawing inspiration from those eager builders of the past whose very imperfections contributed to a building's unique character.
Yeah, two very different but related views on integrity.
These perspectives speak to a time when the individual maker's skill and integrity were deeply connected to the final product, a direct, almost sacred link between creator and creation. But how do we get from there? From a single master craftsman or a dedicated guild of masons to today's highly complex, often standardized, and multi-layered construction landscape.
Yeah, this raises the really important question: what happens when the scale, the complexity, and especially the economic drivers of construction fundamentally change?
Right.
The profound shift is from that individualized, craft-centric model to a highly organized, process-driven one, where direct, hands-on creation is often supplanted by layers of management, specialization, and abstract planning. The character of the building and the process by which it's created undergoes a radical transformation.
It sounds like a move from a human-scale artisan endeavor to an industrial, almost factory-like production in some ways.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this evolution from the master builder concept. That sounds like the ideal, right?
Yeah. It does. The ideal of a single master builder, an entity responsible for both the overall design and the intricate details of construction, is a concept highlighted in Construction Management Jumpstart as the closest method we have to the master builder approach of old.
So, someone who knew everything oversaw everything.
Exactly. This figure, embodying the deep understanding and personal responsibility that Moxon and Ruskin valued, has largely diminished. They were the singular visionaries, from concept to completion, intimately involved in every aspect of the project.
But that must have come with immense personal strain, wouldn't it? If one person held all that responsibility, all that weight on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Especially for bigger projects.
Absolutely. You know, Frank Lloyd Wright's autobiography gives us a glimpse into the personal cost of trying to maintain that kind of role in a more modern era. He reflects on his struggles with debt and the tension between domestic life and his craft, and the sheer complexities of architecture and family responsibilities.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It underscores the immense, often isolated burden on a singular creative and responsible figure, highlighting why that model was perhaps unsustainable as projects grew larger and more complex. The character of the building was so directly tied to the character and sacrifices of that one individual, which in turn carried immense personal and financial risks.
So, if the master builder model was fading as projects grew larger and more complex, what replaced it? What drove this powerful shift towards systematic management?
Well, the rise of systematic management marks a really pivotal point. It's a move from what was largely intuitive craft to a more, let's say, scientific study of work. Peter Drucker, in Management Tasks, Responsibilities, Practices, he notes Frederick W. Taylor's pivotal shift back in the 1880s.
Taylorism, right?
Exactly. Taylor shifted from not taking work for granted to systematically looking at it and studying it. His motivation, at least partly, was a desire to make it possible to give the laborer a decent livelihood through increasing the productivity of work.
Okay, so efficiency becomes key.
Yes. This systematic approach inherently abstracts work from individual craft. It focuses on efficiency and process optimization rather than, say, intrinsic material integrity or the individual's direct touch. The goal shifted from perfecting an object, like Moxon's letter, to perfecting the process of production.
That's a huge change. It sounds like the focus moved from the inherent quality of the individual output to the efficiency of the entire process. That must have impacted the nature of labor itself, too.
Indeed. Modern construction, as described in the PMBOK guide, that's the project management body of knowledge, now operates within intricate organizational governance systems and complex information flow to ensure value delivery.
Value delivery sounds very corporate.
It is, in a sense. It involves a matrix of functions associated with projects, such as provide oversight and coordination, present objectives and feedback, and apply expertise. It's a highly structured environment. And it contrasts sharply with the implied individual autonomy of Moxon's printer or Ruskin's eager builders. The building's character now emerges from the coordination of many specialists, not the singular vision of one artisan. It's a character of a system, not necessarily a hand.
So instead of one person knowing every detail, it's now a team of specialists, each with their own well-defined role, all coordinated by layers of management. How does the system approach deal with unforeseen circumstances or the inevitable surprises that come with large projects? Things always go wrong, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the PMBO guide emphasizes adaptability as a core principle. It states that each industry, organization, and project face unique challenges, and team members must adapt their approaches to successfully manage projects and deliver results.
Okay, so adaptability is built in.
Yes, but the focus is on adaptability and process, which, while absolutely necessary for modern scale and complexity, differs significantly from the deep personal material knowledge and iterative, hands-on refinement cultivated by traditional craftsmen. The integrity of the project shifts, in a way, from the material perfection to the resilience and flexibility of the planning process itself.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. Let's look squarely at today's construction environment. Our sources paint a picture of highly systematized, outcome-focused projects driven by efficiency and often, let's be honest, the bottom line. How does this align or maybe clash with Moxon's granular craft or Ruskin's moral architecture? It feels like we're in a completely different universe sometimes.
This is precisely where the tension between those historical ideals and modern realities becomes most apparent, I think. Today's construction prioritizes a very different set of values: efficiency, risk mitigation, demonstrable outcomes, all underpinned by sophisticated management and technology. The focus is on predictability and quantifiable success, which is a stark contrast to the individual artistic endeavor Moxon and Ruskin described. The character here is less about soul and more about smart, calculated performance.
So instead of a craftsman perfecting a typeface over 7 attempts, we have project manager overseeing this complex web of activities from initial sketches right through to handing over the keys. Let's delve into these pillars of modern project management. What are they?
Okay. Well, one of the central pillars is outcome-oriented value delivery. The PMBOK guide fundamentally focuses on delivering project outcomes and creating value, expanding beyond just deliverables, the physical thing.
So it's not just the building itself, but what the building does.
Exactly. This means the ultimate success is measured by the end result and its contribution to the client or user, its function, its return on investment, not necessarily the inherent visible craft or the moral statement of each individual component. The building's character, in this sense, is in its utility and its performance, how well it serves its purpose, rather than how it outwardly expresses itself aesthetically or materially in a Ruskinian sense.
So the how it's built, in Ruskin's terms, the truthfulness, the sacrifice, is less important than the what and why it serves its owner or occupants.
In many ways, yes, or at least that's where the primary documented focus often lies. This is rigorously supported by rigorous planning and control. Project success hinges on intensive planning conducted upfront.
Lots of planning.
Oh, yes. And then plans may be adjusted to reflect the actual environment. Key concepts include things like rolling wave planning.
Rolling wave.
Yeah, where detailed planning for the near term is precise, while future phases are planned at a higher level and detailed later. Then there's a work breakdown structure, or WBS, which is basically a hierarchical decomposition of the total scope of work into manageable components, and a definition of done, or DOD.
DOD, like the military.
Similar acronym. It's basically a checklist for customer readiness, clearly outlining acceptance criteria. And crucially, quality is defined very precisely as the degree to which a set of inherent characteristics fulfills requirements.
Fulfills requirements. That sounds very measurable.
It is. These are systematic, measurable benchmarks rather than subjective craft standards. The quality is a quantifiable metric, not necessarily an artisan's judgment of beauty or inherent integrity.
It sounds incredibly thorough, leaving very little to chance, almost trying to engineer out human error or maybe even the need for individual judgment sometimes.
To some extent, yes. That's the goal of systematization.
But what about the risks inherent in such large-scale projects? Buildings are massive undertakings. Things can go wrong.
Absolutely. That's where proactive risk management comes in, a critical component of modern practice. The CMAA construction management standards define risk management as a methodical process for early identification of risks and opportunities to lessen the impact of the occurrence of risk events.
So trying to anticipate problems.
Yes, and opportunities too. This includes assessing potential downsides of project outcomes and managing conflicts between personal interests and those of their organization or clients. The focus is on preventing unethical or illegal behaviors and suboptimal outcomes.
Okay, so there's a moral dimension here, but it's more about process and governance.
Exactly. It is a form of moral responsibility, but one applied to process and governance, rather than the intrinsic aesthetic or material honesty Ruskin championed. It's about systemic ethicality, maintaining the integrity of the project process, not necessarily artisanal virtue in the final form.
And underlying all of this, of course, is the bottom line. Money talks. How does financial scrutiny and profitability shape these projects, and consequently, the burdens themselves?
It's huge. Construction management details the critical role of understanding things like overhead and markup, direct costs, and fixed costs. The objective is explicitly stated: to manage the incurred costs, estimated costs, and cost to complete in order to stay within the program budget.
Stay within budget, number one priority, often.
Often, yes. This profit-driven model inherently influences decisions about materials, labor, and time. For example, selecting a cheaper, standardized material might save costs, but potentially compromise a Ruskinian ideal of sacrifice or Moxon's patient iteration for perfection.
Right, you wouldn't spend weeks perfecting one detail if a cheaper, faster alternative meets the requirement.
Precisely. Every decision has a financial implication, sometimes directly at odds with what historical craftsmen might have considered essential for the building's character.
So time is also a strictly managed resource, just like materials and money. It's a commodity to be optimized.
Absolutely. Sophisticated scheduling and time management are central. They use tools like the Gantt chart for project visualization.
Everyone seen a Gantt chart?
Right. And a milestone schedule to track key progress points, and the critical path method, or CPM, to identify the longest sequence of activities that must be completed on time for the entire project to finish on schedule.
The critical path is stuff you absolutely cannot delay.
Exactly. Construction management explains calculating float, which is the amount of time and activity can be delayed without delaying the project, using formulas like float, late finish, early finish, or late start, early start. This identifies critical activities that have zero float.
Very mathematical.
It is. This intense emphasis on time as a managed resource contrasts sharply with the artisan's potentially open-ended pursuit of perfection, where time was simply a function of the quality desired, not a line item on a budget spreadsheet.
This all suggests a strong move towards highly standardized, almost interchangeable parts, doesn't it? Rather than unique, handcrafted elements, especially when you think about the individual letter Moxon would obsess over. Is that true for the building components themselves now?
Yes, there's a profound trend towards standardization and industrialization of building components. Texts like Building Construction Illustrated and Fundamentals of Building Construction highlight the prevalence of standardized, manufactured components.
Like what kind of things?
Things like precast concrete slabs, beams, and structural tees, for example, that are often pre-stressed for greater structural efficiency in a factory. And open web joist framing, which allows easy passage of mechanical services like ductwork and wiring. This prioritizes integration and offsite production over bespoke on-site construction.
So components arrive on site, ready to be assembled, often having been mass-produced in a factory, rather than being crafted by hand on the building site itself.
Precisely. We see modular construction gaining traction with things like precast concrete wall panels, described as forming an entirely precast structural system that is inherently modular and fire-resistive. This speaks to efficiency, speed, and safety through factory production and controlled assembly.
And safety and performance are codified too, right? Not just left to judgment.
Absolutely. Building elements are subject to codified performance standards, like fire resistance rating requirements, hours, derived from things like Table 601 of the International Building Code. This demonstrates a reliance on tested, standardized performance rather than artisanal judgment for safety and structural integrity. The character of these components is in their consistent, reliable, and measurable performance.
And the internal systems of a building, the heating, the cooling, the electrics, are also incredibly complex and standardized today, aren't they? It's not just the visible structure we're talking about.
Yes. Complex systems integration is absolutely key to modern building performance. HVAC systems, furnaces, ductwork, boilers, radiant heating, VAV systems, cooling towers, and intricate electrical distribution with panel boards and low voltage circuits, they're all highly engineered for performance and, increasingly, energy efficiency.
Right, efficiency is huge now.
Huge. Even lighting systems employ things like daylight harvesting with photosensors that automatically adjust the output level of electric lighting based on available natural light, all to save energy. These systems are incredibly intricate, but their character is primarily in their invisible performance, their seamless integration, and their energy efficiency, rather than any overt, visible artistic form that Ruskin might have celebrated.
It sounds like technology is now a central player in all of this, almost a new kind of master builder in its own right, maybe. What's the transformative role of technology, especially building information modeling, or BIM, that comes up a lot?
Oh, BIM, building information modeling, it truly is a game changer. You could almost argue it is a new kind of master craftsman, but operating in the digital realm.
How so?
Well, CMAA, Construction Management Standards of Practice in Construction Management, Jumpstart laud BIM as a superior design environment. BIM integrates 3D parametric modeling, which means it's a smart, interconnected 3D model where changes in one part automatically update related parts.
So change a window size and the wall opening adjusts automatically.
Exactly. It integrates this with engineering analysis for structural integrity, energy consumption, daylighting simulations. It offers clash detection to identify interferences.
Like a pipe running through a structural beam.
Precisely. Finds those clashes virtually before construction starts, saving huge amounts of time and money fixing problems on site. It adds 4D schedules, linking construction activities to the 3D objects for visual progress tracking over time, and even 5D cost management capabilities for dynamic quantity takeoff and real-time cost estimation as the design evolves.
Wow. 3D, 4D, 5D.
It's a powerful tool for efficiency, coordination, and cost control. It fundamentally shifts the focus to data-driven design and construction. Some projects even have a virtual plan room on site using tablets instead of paper drawings. The craft is increasingly in the digital mastery, not just the physical manipulation of materials.
So everything is planned, simulated, and coordinated digitally before a single brick is laid, ideally. But what about when things don't go according to plan? Because they never do, perfectly. How is change managed in this highly structured, digitally driven environment?
That's the key point. Modern projects, by necessity, acknowledge that a project rarely performs exactly as initially planned due to all sorts of internal and external factors. Change is inevitable.
Right.
So adaptability is crucial, but it's managed adaptability. It happens through a proper change control process to avoid problems such as scope creep. That's where uncontrolled changes lead to the project growing bigger and more expensive than planned.
Scope creep, the project manager's nightmare.
Exactly. This is where change orders come in. These are formal, often legally binding agreements to modify the contract. They require detailed estimates computed to determine what the cost of the change will be.
So it's all documented and costed out.
The construction manager must insist that none of your workers or subcontractors proceed with a change in the work until the change order has been properly authorized. It's a legalistic, process-driven approach. It ensures control and financial accountability.
Which is a significant departure from an artisan's individual discretion, right?
Correct.
Where a master craftsman might make a judgment call on the fly to improve quality, even if it wasn't strictly in the plan.
Absolutely. The integrity here is in adhering to the agreed-upon process, ensuring accountability and predictability rather than allowing for individual improvisation, however well-intentioned.
It sounds like modern construction is incredibly sophisticated, focused on efficiency, risk mitigation, and tight schedules. The character, as we've been saying, seems less about visible craft and more about invisible, optimized performance.
That's a good summary, I think.
But in recent decades, we also hear a lot about sustainable building, or green building. Does this bring back a sense of character, or maybe moral responsibility into construction, perhaps in a new, more quantifiable form? Does it reconnect with some of Ruskin's ideals, but maybe with a global rather than purely aesthetic focus?
Absolutely. Sustainability definitely introduces a vital new layer of responsibility. It's a profound shift towards a global ethical consideration that goes far beyond the immediate users of a building.
The bigger picture.
A much bigger picture. However, its expression is often highly quantified, metrics-driven, and process-oriented, which again differs from Ruskin's more aesthetic and moral arguments about visible integrity and the hand of the builder. The responsibility has expanded outwards beyond the immediate building and its users to encompass the planet itself.
So how do we define green building in this much broader context? What does that even mean practically?
Well, sustainable construction green building design and delivery offers a clear definition. It says a green building is a facility designed, built, operated, and disposed of in a resource-efficient manner using ecologically sound approaches and with both human and ecosystem health as goals.
Designed, built, operated, and disposed of. So the whole life cycle.
The entire life cycle. This broad definition expands responsibility beyond just the building's immediate users to encompass its total impact on the planet, its resource footprint, its energy consumption, its waste generation, its effect on ecosystems. This is a profound ethical statement, even if it's often hidden within the systems and materials.
And how do we measure this greenness? Are there universal standards or a way to quantify this new form of architectural character or responsibility?
Yes, there are robust, standardized rating systems. You've probably heard of some. Organizations like the U.S. Green Building Council, USGBC, developed the widely recognized Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design,
LEED. LEED, yeah, they're out of that ARI certified buildings.
Exactly. And systems like Green Globes emerged as an alternative. These systems provide universally understood and accepted tools and performance criteria for evaluating and certifying high-performance green buildings. They essentially translate those moral aspirations for sustainability into measurable achievements.
So it's a point-based system then for various categories of sustainable practice, a bit like earning merit badges for good environmental behavior.
That's a decent analogy, yeah. LEED criteria, for example, awards points for various categories, things like erosion and sedimentation control during construction to prevent water pollution, responsible site selection to protect natural habitats, promoting alternative transportation through public transport access, and bicycle-friendly infrastructure.
Bike racks and showers.
Right, and significant construction and demolition waste reduction, often aiming to divert 50–75% of waste from landfills. It even makes allocation of building space for the collection and storage of recyclables a prerequisite. You have to do it to even apply for certification.
So these are all, in a way, invisible ethical statements embedded in the building's design and operation.
I think that's a great way to put it, yes.
And what about Green Globes? You mentioned it as an alternative. How does it differ from AL?
Well, Green Globe's features differentiate it slightly. It offers credit for things like integrated design and environmental purchasing, and for conducting life cycle assessments of building assemblies.
Life cycle assessments. That sounds important.
It is. It means evaluating the environmental impact of a material or component throughout its entire life, from extraction to manufacturing, transport, use, and disposal. Green Globes also allows for a reduction in starting base points for non-applicable situations, reflecting perhaps a more nuanced approach to context sometimes. But both systems, AEA and Green Globes, are deeply rooted in quantifiable metrics. They create a new definition of a building's good character through its environmental performance.
So the performance is what's truly measured here, rather than, say, the visible beauty of a carved capital that Ruskin might admire. What kind of metrics are we talking about in terms of environmental performance?
The focus is squarely on measurable environmental performance. This includes tracking things like energy use intensity, or EUI, for overall building efficiency, using low-E glazing on windows. Low emissivity. It allows visible light while reflecting infrared radiation heat to reduce heat gain in summer and heat loss in winter. Acts like a one-way mirror for heat.
Clever.
Very. Also, implementing strategies for rainwater runoff volume reduced and the quality of rainwater increased, often using low-impact development and green infrastructure, like permeable paving or green roofs.
Letting water soak in naturally.
Exactly. We also see efforts to minimize the heat island effect in urban areas using materials with high solar reflectance index, or SRI, basically light-colored roofs and pavements, even material choices like using FSC-certified wood.
Forest Stewardship Council.
Right. Acknowledging wood as a renewable resource grown using sustainable forestry practices, though also considering its entire life cycle for environmental performance. This is a character of efficiency, resilience, and planetary stewardship.
These are incredible advancements, profoundly reshaping our ethical responsibility in building.
Yeah.
But it all sounds very technical, very scientific.
Mm.
Is there a broader philosophical framework that guides this, a kind of modern lamp for sustainability, perhaps?
There is, actually, and it's powerfully articulated by the natural step framework. It's built around 4 core system conditions for sustainability.
Okay, what are they?
Essentially, it calls for us to, 1, eliminate our reliance on systematically extracting finite resources from the Earth's crust, think ores and fossil fuels.
Stop digging stuff up and burning it.
Pretty much. 2, it pushes for a severe reduction in synthetic materials and substances produced by society that accumulate in the biosphere.
Fewer persistent chemicals.
Right. 3, it focuses on reducing the physical degradation of nature and natural processes by human activities. Protect biodiversity, ecosystems.
Respect nature.
And finally, number 4, aims to meet human needs equitably worldwide, ensuring fair conditions and opportunities for everyone.
Wow, that's huge.
It represents a profound moral and systemic responsibility, a truly global view of impact that far transcends Ruskin's Victorian concerns with just stone and mortar. It addresses the very planetary limits within which architecture must now exist.
So while sustainability definitely brings a moral dimension back into building, it's a very different kind of morality than Ruskin's. It's less about the visible honesty of materials and craft, and more about the invisible long-term impact on the planet and its systems.
Indeed. It marks a significant shift in focus. While these advancements are crucial for planetary and human health, they often relate to the building's environmental performance and resource efficiency, its hidden systems and long-term impact, rather than the intrinsic aesthetic character or the visible hand of the craftsman that Ruskin championed. The character here is in its environmental footprint and operational efficiency, its unseen intelligence, rather than its overt artistry or honest display of construction. It's a quiet, systemic form of integrity.
After this deep dive, then,
Yeah.
from Moxon's precise craft to Ruskin's moral architecture, and through this highly systematized world of modern construction, we have to ask the core question for our listener. In this world of project management, standardization, BIM, sustainability metrics, do buildings still have character?
Yeah.
What do Moxon's craft or Ruskin's lamps tell us about what might be missing today, or perhaps what has evolved?
This is the crux of our deep dive, isn't it? And it's a profound, almost existential question for architecture today. Ruskin explicitly criticized falsity and celebrated those eager builders whose individual imperfections contributed to a building's unique character.
The human touch.
Exactly. Moxon's world exemplified beauty in meticulously crafted, honest components, where the hand of the maker was visible, if you looked closely enough, in every perfect curve. Today, well, the character of a building is certainly less about the individual hand of the craftsman or the overt moral assertion of materials. It has shifted profoundly. It's become embedded in a different set of values, a more systemic and often invisible form of integrity.
So we've moved from a tangible, visible craft where you could literally point to the hand of the maker or the honesty of the stone to something more abstract and process-driven.
Exactly. There's a clear shift from tangible craft to intangible systems. The PMBOK guide, remember, highlights tailoring an approach as an iterative and constant process. This signifies a shift from an object-oriented craft like perfecting a letter or sculpting a bas-relief to a process-oriented one,
Right.
where integrity is demonstrated through adherence to a complex, adaptable system of planning, execution, and control. The integrity is in the methodology, the robustness of the system, not just the physical manifestation.
And if the character isn't immediately visible, how is it experienced then? Does it become an entirely different kind of presence?
It absolutely becomes an invisible character. Think about it. While a Gothic cathedral's character is visibly manifest in its soaring structure, its intricate ornamentation, the weathered stone telling stories of centuries.
You can see it, feel it.
Right. A modern high-performance building's character might lie in its unseen efficiencies, its low energy use intensity, its high-performance glazing, silently managing heat flow, its energy recovery ventilators, quietly ensuring fresh air without wasting energy, or its ability to minimize rainwater runoff volume and contribute to urban ecological balance.
Things you don't necessarily see, but they affect your experience or the environment.
Exactly. These are essential contributions to its quality and impact, but their character is largely experienced through performance, through comfort, through reduced environmental footprint, rather than direct aesthetic appreciation of craft or material honesty in the Ruskinian sense. You feel the comfort, you see the lower utility bill, but you don't necessarily see the hand of the builder or the moral statement in the same way Ruskin would have understood it.
That's a fundamentally new way of thinking about honesty in building, then. Ruskin talked about the visible truth of structure and materials.
Yeah.
How does honesty translate in modern terms, especially within those complex management systems you mentioned?
It's a new definition of honesty, definitely. It's moved significantly towards transparency and trust in management and processes. Ruskin's integrity was about the visible truth of structure and material. Modern integrity is often found in the transparency of processes.
How so?
While the PMBO guide talks about care includes creating a transparent working environment, open communication channels, and opportunities for stakeholders to raise concerns without penalty or fear of retribution.
Okay, so being open and accountable.
Yes. This trustworthiness extends to accurately representing roles, identifying conflicts of interest, and ensuring fair dealings within complex multi-party projects. The honesty is in the process and the relationships, not just the stone or the steel.
So it's about trust among people and between processes, rather than just trust in the materials themselves. It's a social and procedural integrity.
Precisely. It also involves what Construction Management Jumpstart calls vulnerability-based trust in teams. This emphasizes honesty and integrity, telling the truth, keeping your word, following through on commitments.
That sounds closer to Ruskin, maybe?
It connects directly to Ruskin's moral foundations, yes, but it reframes it within the context of collaborative management and problem solving in a team environment, rather than purely the aesthetic integrity of the building object itself. The character of the team, then, contributes profoundly to the integrity of the project, which in turn shapes the often invisible character of the building.
But this immense scale and complexity, this abstraction from the direct hand of the maker, that must come at a cost, right?
Yeah.
Is there a dilemma of scale and abstraction that leaves something missing? A loss, perhaps?
I think there is, yes. And it points to a loss of direct connection. While modern methods bring undeniable benefits, massively improved safety, for instance, construction safety has substantially improved, according to one source.
That's hugely important.
Absolutely. And vastly increased efficiency and crucial environmental performance. But the sheer scale and complexity involving immense numbers of people and players, as Construction Management Jumpstart puts it,
Right.
it can inadvertently distance the creators from a direct, personal, tactile relationship with the final built form. The individual craftsmanship, that almost devotional act Moxon described, can get lost in the layers of coordination and management.
So no one person feels the same individual ownership or artistic connection to the whole project in the way Moxon might have felt for a typeface, or Ruskin's eager builders for their cathedral?
It's much harder, certainly. Think about the superintendent on a large site. Their responsibility is coordinating all of the construction activities on site and assuring the quality and safety of all self-performed work and subcontracted work.
Advantager.
Exactly. It's a management function, overseeing potentially hundreds or thousands of people and multiple companies, not the direct hand of a single craftsman shaping a piece of stone. It's a crucial management role, vital for complex projects, but it inherently changes the relationship to the finished product. The character becomes a collective, managed outcome, not necessarily an individual expression or passion.
And this leaves us with what I imagine is the lingering question of soul. Can a building truly have character or soul if its forms are, as Ruskin worried, purely abstract, if its materials are chosen primarily for cost efficiency and maybe even deceptively represented, if its beauty is entirely divorced from human imperfection or the direct hand of a maker?
It does indeed. Does a building, however technologically advanced or environmentally friendly it might be, possess the same kind of character that Ruskin envisioned? If its forms are standardized, if its materials are chosen for budget over inherent quality, if its construction prioritizes speed above all else?
Yeah.
The drive for profit and efficiency, while absolutely essential for modern projects to even be viable, can sometimes overshadow the sacrifice and direct, honest expression of craft that Moxon and Ruskin championed. The very tools like BIM, while incredible for coordination and cost control, create a virtual representation rather than a direct tactile connection to the materials.
A simulation, not the thing itself.
Right. The question then becomes, Can a data model, however brilliant, truly capture a building's soul? Or is that something that must still emerge from the very human acts of craft, honesty, and maybe even Ruskin's sacrifice?
This has been an incredible journey, hasn't it? We've traveled from the microscopic precision required for his 17th century typeface in Moxon's mechanic exercises, where perfection was this personal, iterative quest.
Men's
Yeah.
on.
Exactly. Infusing an object with character through sheer dedication. Then we move through John Ruskin's impassioned plea for moral truth, sacrifice, and beauty in the Seven Lamps of Architecture, where a building's character was intertwined with the very integrity of its making and the honesty of its materials, celebrating the human touch, even its imperfections.
The eager builders.
And eager builders. And finally, we've landed squarely in the intricate, systems-driven, and often profit-motivated world of modern construction management, where character takes on these new, often invisible dimensions.
The essence of character in building has undeniably evolved. It's no longer just about the visible hand of the craftsman, the organic truth of the material, or the moral declaration of stone that Ruskin so passionately argued for.
It's changed.
It's now deeply intertwined with measurable performance, quantifiable sustainability metrics, and the integrity of complex team processes, managed through sophisticated digital tools like BIM. The definition of integrity itself has expanded, you could say, from the individual maker to the entire project system.
Which leaves us with a provocative thought for you, our listener, to carry with you today. The true challenge for today's construction professional isn't just to build efficiently or sustainably, which are, of course, absolutely critical goals.
Vitally important.
But maybe it's also to consciously embed the spirit of Moxon's meticulous craft and Ruskin's profound architectural integrity into these modern high-tech processes. How can we ensure that amidst the pursuit of metrics and outcomes, our buildings still have a soul, a story, a discernible character that reflects genuine integrity in all its forms, both visible and invisible?
Yeah.
When you look at the buildings around you next time, what stands out to you? What silent story do they tell about their making and the values embedded within their very fabric?
Something to think about.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.